I left to get on this one, so I'm not there. I posted on Facebook. Yeah, let them migrate over. And Larry, remind me sometime next week that we need to start thinking about carrying a sleeping bag with us up on the spotter stand. If
I got a link posted. I think it. I
thought you were going to say you had a couple of sleeping bags. I guess I got to buy my own sleeping bag. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, something similar to that.
All right, Trish, you got a sleeping bag? Trish Shaw?
She probably went to sleep.
No,
I'm definitely bringing my own because I'm not sharing one.
Well, she better not go to sleep because attendance is being checked. So, Trish Shaw is here. Okay, and we're joined in the booth by Rick Craddock. Mount Washington, Kentucky's own Rick Craddock, or as I like to call him, Ricky Crash Craddock.
I've done a little bit of that.
Only a very few people will ever get that Ricky Crash Craddock comment, but some people will. I mean, you know.
Got to go back a few years.
I bet you $5 Trisha doesn't know who Ricky Crash Craddock is. Larry's telling her.
I'm not telling her nothing. She's upstairs. I'm downstairs. So.
Good old Billy Crash.
So
footsteps coming.
So we got both floors of the Jaeger compound covered with the spotter stand tonight. Then got Trisha upstairs, Larry downstairs.
I'm trying to find you. I'm on your page, and it's got.
And I
don't see where the live is at.
It should be.
Larry beat me.
It should be directly under the main clip. There should be a live now.
Larry Linklater.
There's actually two of them there, Texas.
Well, one of them will say this. One of them says the spotter stand, but then the other one will say.
Yeah, I see one
now. One says live, one doesn't.
One says upcoming live streams.
Yeah, that's the one that's not working.
Okay, and then the other one just says BSR quick clip.
Texan, I have two live now. One with 6 watching, both with 6 watching.
I don't see a live now.
Click on the link and
Bandy found us.
There's a link.
I got 7 now. Trisha, will you go downstairs and turn Larry's speakers down so I don't bleed through on him?
My speakers are down. If I turn them down any lower, I can hear nobody.
I think you're in that confined space and sound bounces off the wall and comes back and catch it in my headset.
I'm in there now.
But only when you're pushing the button to talk. All right.
Looks like there's 7 watching.
Showing 7. That's standing room only.
All right. Yeah. We for some reason when I came in here too and we finally got us live, I had still had my microphone muted as well. So sorry folks for all the technical difficulty this evening. Sorry for such a late start, but we are here. We are live. I'll have all this fixed before the spotter stand next week. I'm not sure what happened, why all my broadcast settings went away here in XSplit, but it looks like I'm having the same problem that Rick Craddock just had recently. And you know, having to deal with it last minute. I had no idea it was working fine when I streamed the other night.
Keep looking, Brain Fade. You'll find it. Trust you will.
Well, let's go ahead and get this thing kicked off since we're starting a little bit late here. I've got some picks to share with you guys this week.
Uh-oh. Picks.
Yeah, we're going to start out with a pick of BSR Brain Fade, Zombie Killer Extraordinaire, wearing his Bomb Squad Racing. I believe this is a Hangover 250 shirt. I received one of these as well. I've got another pick here from Brain that shows the back of the shirt, and he included something pretty unique, pretty cool in this other picture. There's the back of the Hangover 200 shirt. It's got the sponsors all listed there below it, and you can read there on that picture he's got sitting in a chair, never underestimate the power of positive drinking. Absolutely. Yeah, that was pretty cool of Brain to include that with the Hangover 200 shirt.
Good job, Brain. Our man, Brain Fade.
And I got a few more from you here. Let's see. This is a pick of a plaque I received for second place in the second annual AK Memorial Series. This was the Cup Series, second place in the AK Memorial Cup Series. Plaque from Kathy and Brian Boyles over at Boyles Trucking. And I've got one other one. This is a pick of the plaque for second place in the Boyles Trucking Shootout 2019. One of the preseason races. Boyles Trucking Shootout, that's the one that I believe it was BSR Momo won, got the 3 points, or 2 points for that shootout. 2 bonus points towards his chase. And they also sent a plaque out to second and third place. I'm not sure where Momo's pick is, or the third place pick. I think we got some more t-shirts we should be getting pics of here as well. But Brain and I are the only ones to send in pics of our shirts yet. Speaking of pics of the shirts, here's some pics of mine. This is the front of the Hangover 200 shirt. Got the Bomb Squad Racing logo on it right there, top left corner. And the back of it, got the Hangover 200 logo, the Boyles Trucking, WLS Graphics, Drunken Cow Jerky on there. These were some great shirts, and they went all out and did, long sleeve t-shirts with these, which I like the long sleeve t-shirts. I wear it in the summertime if you want to, but you can wear this thing all year round. Cool time, winter, fall, whenever. I've got one other one. I also received a t-shirt from the second annual Lynn Boyles Memorial 250. Same deal in the front, top left, you got the Lynn Boyles Memorial 250 logo, and then on the back we've got the Lynn Boyles Memorial 250 logo a little bit bigger with all the sponsor logos right down there underneath it, and the Bomb Squad logo included as well. I've got a few of these t-shirts now, and I love having these things, man, being able to wear them and have people see, and they always ask questions, that's a pretty cool shirt. Where'd you get that? What's that all about? And, I get to talk about my sim racing and how much fun I have doing it. And I love these things.
Yeah, those are nice.
A lot of people were making comments that they like the long sleeve t-shirt too, and that's it's a great thing.
Hey, the long sleeve t-shirts are great for when you're riding your motorcycle too. So
there you go. Even Brain Fade out there said it's a comfy shirt. Good shirts made. Now these are made by WLS Graphics. This is from earlier in the year from the Lynn Boyles Memorial, and what was it? The Hangover. Yes. And so these are prizes that are just hitting. There's some more people out there that's got these nice shirts and everything. We'd like to see pictures of them. We'll have some of them coming up as they come in. So these are prizes that are still. I told Texan, I said, I don't really know who all got what. All I know is I didn't get anything. So that tell you where I'm at. But yeah, we'll see some more of this as time progresses here. Those are some great looking shirts. Good job, WLS Graphics, Scar.
Absolutely.
Thanks to Brian and Kathy Boyles at Boyles Trucking.
We'll have to go back to the to the results from these races to see exactly who got these, because I know first, second, and third in both races, first, second, third in the shootout or the Hangover 250, first, second, third in the Lynn Boyles Memorial all received T-shirts for those. I know, Brain, obviously, Brain and myself both got Hangover T-shirts. There was a third driver who got one as well. And I'm not sure who the other two drivers who received the Lynn Boyles shirts were.
Larry's could probably look that up, but I have no idea.
Well, I may be mistaken. It may have only been the winner that got a T-shirt. I know I did win this race. So it's possible it could be just the winner only that received the T-shirt for the Lynn Memorial.
The Hangover race was Texan, Poor Boy, and Brain Fade.
So we got some picks from Poor Boy that should be coming in pretty soon. Yeah.
Roger Blevins.
And the Lynn Boyles race was Texan, Brian Boyles, and Momo.
Where's that
Yes,
picture at, Momo?
Momo did get a shirt because I remember him talking about it. So,
Yeah, I as well. Yeah, I do too. So yeah, we got a couple more picks from the Lynn Boyles Memorial and at least one more from the Hangover that's going to come through as well. So hopefully we'll have some more to share with you guys next week. Now let's get into the racing here. Something that we talked a little bit about last week, and I told you guys we would have some standings up for this. The Sweetwater Challenge the Sweetwater 5150 Challenge, sponsored by BSR Mayhem, formerly known as BSR Axel Foley. This is it's a total of 8 races, but what is it? Is it how many of the tracks? 4 of the tracks or 3 of the tracks? 3 of the tracks we visit twice.
Total of 8 races. There's
it's really a total of only
three repeat tracks and two first-time tracks.
Right. So actually, your points total is going to be a total of 5 races. 3 of the tracks that are in there we go to twice, and it's going to take your best finish from those 2 races. So basically, you're going to have a total of 5 finishes that are added together to keep your points in this series. Atlanta, one of the tracks we do not visit twice, and I believe Darlington, the other track that we do not visit twice. Whatever you finish in those, that's where you're going to get, because you don't have a chance to improve on those standings. But, the first race at Vegas, we've already had that one. We got Michigan and Bristol. If you don't do so well necessarily in the first race, you got the second race to try to improve on your standings. Your best finish from those races is going to be added into your points total. And I've got a little look here at the prize that Mayhem is giving away for this 5150 challenge. There it is right there. Now, don't let the look deceive you here. This is very cool. It's not a full-sized guitar. Now, this is it's going to be a very unique prize, something that, unique prizes are given away quite a bit here at BSR. As you guys know, we've got, we've had the boomerangs that were given away, the trophy that Larry won for the Steve Looney Commander board sign race. And now this replica Eddie Van Halen 5150 guitar is going to be handed out as a prize as well. Like I said, it's not a full-sized real guitar, but look at that picture. You wouldn't know. You couldn't tell.
I still think you can play it.
You probably can. It looks like it plugs in down there.
Do it just right.
It looks
I
like
still
it's
think
got
you'll
a
be
little,
able to play a song on it.
Looks like it's got a jack, 1/4-inch jack to plug it in. Well, let's take
I wonder
a look.
if he's got a little tiny pick to go with it.
It's kind of personal, but
now that's funny right there.
That's some of that nice Kentucky humor right there.
that's right.
So let's take a look
help
at how everybody stands here in this series so far with a couple of races in. Currently, it is BSR Barry sitting at the top of the board in this, with Rick Craddock in second, only 1 point back. Then you have a tie for, was that a tie for third place? Yeah, tie for third place. BSR SS Joba and BSR Wings down by 5, and another tie for fifth place, excuse me. BSR Terry Scott and Steve Looney both 6 points back. Now remember, one of these tracks we've raced, Vegas, we will be going back to a second time, so you will have a chance to improve on your standings if you didn't do so well at the first Vegas race. A total of 3 more races that will be entered in here, but it's going to be, you know, almost the end of the season before we get to whoever wins this, before we get to that final race, because at least one of the final races, I believe, is in the Chase. So, you know, this is going to be going on all season long. This is a look at how your points stand in this series right now. Once we take a visit to another track in this series, then we will put this back up, let you see how the points have changed as we visit these tracks that are going to be in this 5150 challenge, Sweetwater 5150 challenge for BSR Mayhem.
I want that guitar. That's good.
I think everybody wants that guitar. That's something that's just going to be one of those things that nobody else has. And somebody, I hope BSR Barry's out there watching, or somebody let him know that he's leading the 5150 challenge, just in case he didn't know.
I'm
Hey, he
sure
jumped
somebody's
7
gonna let him
points.
know. Yeah, 7 points. He must have had a great finish in the last race that we had. I should have brought up I didn't put up the race results from the Vegas race, which would have been the last race. That was last week or week
Well,
before last.
he was featured on the front page of the
Yeah.
Bomb Squad Racing page week
He
before
won.
last, so he won. Yeah,
He won Vegas, yeah.
yeah,
Won the
yeah.
Vegas race and moved
There
up
you go.
7 positions in the standings to take over the lead in the 5150 challenge.
Well, and if you look at this is something a little extra. This is outside our normal program. This is a special series kind of deal that Mayhem's put on for us with Sweetwater. And look, he's on what we've got 2 races in, right? We're 2 races in, so that means there's 6 left.
Yes.
So there you go. This is a separate deal. So 2 races in, you got 6 left. That he's in the position he needs to be in. He needs to be looking at those other tracks, and I mean that's and those points right there tell the whole story. That's a tight little field of people who are going to fight the next 6 races. So this is the thing that I really enjoy right here. Something just kind of over on the side to compete extra in some, you know, and keep a separate set of points. Larry does a great job doing that for us, putting these little series together. People dream this stuff up, and Larry makes it a reality with that scoreboard right there. So that's very interesting. We'll keep eye on that.
Yes, and this little series runs almost all the way to the end of the season.
Yeah, just something a little extra. There'll be even more prizes given out besides everything that we already have planned. Here's somebody steps up, does something a little extra, and we're going to have even more prizes. So thanks to Axel Foley, my man Axel Foley, for putting that together for us. So yeah, that's a good deal.
All right, let's move on. Take a look at Wednesday night. Wednesday night, the truck series was off this last week, so we had our first race of the Drunken Cow Jerky Late Model Dirt Series. Raced at Springfield this week, the Springfield Mile. I believe that's the longest, biggest dirt track that we've run. And the victor was Steve Looney in that number 21 Commander Board Signs late model dirt car. Great job, Steve. That was a great race. I think this was one of the races where we've had a lot of long runs. You know, Steve used some great strategy in this race. Normally in the dirt races, you guys know we have a fair amount of cautions where people will call out caution and we'll have to go around. Well, this particular race, I think we only had 2 in the whole race. And the second one came fairly early, like lap 30 something. Also, being such a long track, this is one of the tracks where you have to stop for fuel. And Steve Looney, one of the only driver who was paying attention to that when that second caution came out. He looked at his fuel and noticed he wasn't going to make it. He went in and pitted under that caution, got fuel, got enough to make it. I believe he still had to save some fuel towards the end, but he was the only driver who did that. Every other driver, nobody else thought of that. Nah, we'll have another caution later in the race. And no, we didn't. So everybody else had to pit under green flag conditions. Steve Looney did not, and Steve Looney brought home the victory at Springfield. Great job, Steve.
Yes, he actually ran out of gas coming out of turn 4, he said. But I thought he pitted too early. I didn't think he could make it even that far. So he did a great job saving through the race, too. Yes, great job to Steve Looney. Good strategy win. BSR Hot Rod was second. Nelly was third. Texan got fourth. And Mr. Scarborough rounds out the top 5.
Yeah, as we take a look at the race results here, you see Hot Rod, you led the most laps, led 56 of those laps. But Steve Looney, with that pit strategy, everybody else having to pit, he did manage to lead 29 laps there towards the end of the race, led quite a bit. Nelly, the only other driver to lead any laps during that race, so just the three of you guys were leading laps during that race. That was actually a fun race. I love that track. That was some good close racing in there, and Springfield Mile, great track to race on some dirt.
Yes, Steve took over the lead when I pitted, and when I came out of the pits, he had a what was that, or like 11 or 12 second lead on me. He could see me to put me a lap down when I come out of the pits, and I actually caught up to him at the end of the race. I was coming out of 4 as he got to the line. And if I wouldn't have got into Nelly, we would have probably caught him coming into 3, which would have changed the whole game. But yes, it was an awesome race. That was cars battling and everybody jockeying for positions through the whole race. That was a great race.
There's nothing like racing dirt.
Yeah, Rick Craddock is not no slouch in the dirt himself. You're not able to make it out very often to race with us in the dirt, but you've won a couple of these races. You have won a couple of these, so yeah, great.
Yeah, I love racing dirt. I wish I could get out to more of them, but always takes me back. I used to race go-karts and midget sprints on the dirt, and that was when times were fun.
That must be why you're so good at the dirt whenever you show up at your limited dirt schedule.
Oh, that's what I raced on. I raced go-karts on the dirt, then went into midget sprints, and then after that went into the mini cup on asphalt. But yeah, I loved racing the dirt. That's what I cut my teeth on.
Well, it shows. It transferred over into the sim part. The real world did. So yeah, that explains a lot.
I gotta ask here, is that what they're actually called, midget sprints?
Midget sprints.
Is that the politically correct term? There's not somebody out there lobbying to make them change that name?
I haven't heard of anybody complaining yet, but no. Yeah, that's one of the sprint classes is the midget sprints.
Lawnmower racing is what I call it. Larry's got one of them lawnmowers in his garage.
Do you, Larry?
Is that what that is, Larry?
Yeah, I got a micro. Yep.
So yours is called a micro. Is that smaller than a midget?
Yes, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, all right, I got you.
What size motor did you run in yours, Rick?
We ran the what was it? 1200 cc.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Mine's just a 250 Honda motor.
So Brainfade's got a question for us out there. How fast can those midget sprints run?
I tell you what, if you put them
You'd be
if you put them
surprised.
on asphalt, you're getting on up, 100 mile an hour. Dirt. I don't
Depends
know.
on the
I'd say
track.
on some of the tracks we were running, we were probably averaging 80.
Yeah,
something
we
like
ran
that.
when we ran the micro, Rick, at Bridgeport. It was about 85 mile an hour down the backstretch.
Yeah.
What we were clocking going in the corner.
And I
Yeah,
bet
we
you
ran
feel
we
that.
ran one dirt track and we averaged 85. So I'd say on the straights, you were probably getting close to 100 on dirt, and it gets your attention.
Yeah, in
Oh,
a
yeah,
small
it
car,
feels-
in a small car going that fast, you feel it. You know you're going fast.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it feels 10 times faster than a real sprint car.
Hey, we used to run. I ran limited modified go karts on dirt, and on a quarter-mile track, we were running 80 mile an hour
Yeah,
in
they're
a
good.
go kart, and man, you setting 2 inches off the ground, you definitely feel it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Let's take a look at the points here in this dirt series after one race. Hang on a second. There we go. Let me get rid of that.
I was going to
Mr.
say, you'll wake me up when you're done talking about lawnmower racing.
Now, points are scored a little bit differently in this. There is no special points for winning the race. It's scored, you're going to get whatever position you got, minus 1 point back to the next position. And I believe the only extra points are scored for, leading a lap, Larry? No points for leading a lap? Only
no
for...
points for leading a lap, no points for most laps. The only alternative points are heat winner bonus points.
Right, heat winners. So you got 1 point that separates each position, and then the heat winners also get 1 point. So Looney at the top of the board, but only by 1 point, with BSR Hot Rod and Nelly both tied for second, back by 1, and myself and Scar tied for third or fourth, back by 3. Eli currently sitting there down by 5, Brain Fade down by 6. Randy down by 7, and Rugrat, who also ran this race, down by 8 points. And Pockets didn't make it to that race, so you're going to start in a deficit. Looks like Rugrat's starting out ahead of you there, Pockets. She may beat you in this series.
I'm glad that you pointed out that our diversity program here at Bomb Squad Racing is alive and well and features Tricia Yeager Jr. running in the dirt. So that's something good to see. That makes me smile, and I'm gonna be there tomorrow night. I was gonna ask her. I was looking at those laps and stuff, and I was gonna ask her. Now, am I only gonna need to run about 45 or 50 laps to beat you tomorrow night, Tricia, or are you gonna run the whole race? Oh, I need to know what I need to be prepared for.
What's she do? Go to sleep on us? I guess I'll have to go yell at her.
No, that's fine. That must explain the 45 laps down. She might have went to sleep last week, so you might tell her take a nap tomorrow afternoon because she's gonna need it.
She got upset at herself, Bucket. She almost took out the leader, so she got off the track.
Well, there you go. What a great start to a sim racing career. That's what we like to see. All right, we look forward to racing her tomorrow night.
And the tie between me and Nelly won the heat, and the tie with you and Scar won the heat. That's where the ties come from.
Well, you can see ties still possible here, even with 1 point separating, so long as those heat races definitely come into play. That 1 point going to matter when it comes down to the end. A lot of close racing in the dirt. Let's move on and take a look at Thursday night. Thursday night, the Cup Series ran at Phoenix. What's it called now? IRC or something like that?
ISC.
ISC. It's Phoenix. We ran it.
It's
Phoenix.
always Phoenix.
That's
always
right.
Phoenix.
I know a lot of drivers really don't like Phoenix, but I love that track. That's one of my favorite places to race. It's a little different than just about any track that we run. Something a little bit different, but of course, I like it because I do pretty well. I've got that track down. I think I run pretty well at Phoenix. However, this week at Phoenix, it was our special guest Rick Craddock in that number 22 who managed to bring home the victory in the Cup Series at Phoenix. Great job, Rick.
It was a heck of a night. Went from being on my head to being in victory lane. So that was something that I'd never ever done before.
Yeah, that car was on its roof, wasn't it? What was the top 5 there, Larry?
Rick Craddock, BSR Momo, Monty Keller, Texan, and then Pockets rounds out the top 5.
That's unheard of.
Yeah, I've got your race results up here. Looks like Terry Scott actually led the most laps in that race. Led 80 laps. That's a ton.
Terry was on a rail.
Absolutely. And as you can see, my little spiel about, get every point you can during this main series to try to stay in that top 5 and get an extra bonus point for your segment. Everybody's pretty much taking heed to that. Looks like every driver, with the exception of 3, Monty Keller never led a lap, Burko never led a lap, and Jimmy Dale never led a lap. Everybody else on this list, 18 drivers, led at least 1 lap during that race. So that's 15 different lead changes, 15 different drivers that ended up leading a lap during this race. And Rick, who managed to win the race, the next most laps led 10 of them. Momo led 9. I only led 5 laps in the whole race. Looks like Mayhem put up 6. Pockets led a couple. Steve Looney down there led a couple. Everybody else just led 1. But Phoenix, I thought we had a pretty good race, really, considering how difficult this track is. We did have some green flag stops. I believe it was right at the end of one of the green flag cycles when we had a green flag pit stops. That's when the caution came out. But we did manage green flag stops at Phoenix and had a great race overall.
Yeah, those 10 laps that I led, those were the last 10 of the race, and it was only because, with 10 to go, we had that yellow, and everybody pitted. I was stuck back in 8th or 9th after wrecking early. It affected my car a little bit, not a lot. I was able to run, close to my normal speeds. But I was stuck back 8th or 9th and probably wasn't going to get any further. And then when that yellow come out, everybody decided to pit. And I think me and who was it? Momo?
Me, you, Pockets, and
there's just a few of us, yeah, that did.
It was Pockets because I lined up on the outside.
Yeah, you were lined up on the outside
on that restart.
Yeah, Barry was on the inside of me. I was in 4th.
That's what I was going to ask you about. How did you feel when you seen from back 8th, 9th place with 10 laps to go and that caution come out and we drive around and you see all of those cars pull off the pit road? I know what you were thinking. You were thinking the same thing I did, but what was going through your mind?
Well, I knew I wasn't going to pit. I knew at that point the tires and everything. I thought I'm not pitting no matter what, because at that point I was just trying to get the best finish I could get. But the way my car had been running after everybody pitted, I kind of felt like I hit the lottery here, because I felt like I could run good enough laps to maybe hold everybody off. And I know you were thinking the same thing. I was shocked when everybody pitted. I was kind of like, oh my God, this just may have handed us a race. And then what was it? Another yellow came out with 5 or 6 to go. And then when it come down to where it was just going to be a 1-lap shootout, at that point I felt like, I've at least got enough of a car left to hold them off for a lap. And but yeah, I was smiling ear to ear when everybody pitted.
That for me, the strategy presented itself, which it very rarely ever does, because my thinking, I'm back there in 9th, 10th place. I'm fixing to pit if they stay out. And that's because I have to go get that concrete block that I'm fixing to put on the accelerator on the restart. first off, and just because, hey, I shouldn't lose. You know, I may lose 1 or 2 spots. Technically, maybe I may gain 1 or 2 if the majority of people back their pit. I'm not looking at losing anything. Be able to tune on my car a little bit. But when they all pulled off, I'm like, well, that changes everything. There's 10 laps to go.
Yeah.
What's anything can happen right here, and up front's where you want to be if it happens, as long as you're not part of it. And man, it worked out great for me. That's maybe the best finish I've ever had at Phoenix in a cup race. And because Phoenix and I do not see eye to eye, that track, like Texan said, I'm glad that he pointed out how difficult that track actually is. I mean, because it's got like 3 corners, because that back dog leg's almost like a corner. It's just, that track is unlike anything else that we race on, and I've never really gotten a good handle on it. Some people have, some people still struggle with it, but it was an exciting race, because that's one of the first races at Phoenix that I ended up in the front 4 or 5 cars and getting to race, you know, in the middle part of the race and I could not believe how exciting it was to be up there, but it was scary at that time, because you're just right on the edge of being involved in something, and it was that's a tough place to race.
You know what shocked me about that race, though, Pockets?
What's that?
Nobody really ran below the white line. And normally when we run there, everybody's way down under that white line on the backstretch.
Well, I seen somebody pull that move off, and it upsets the car too much.
It does.
Momo went down
it's
there.
A good move. Yeah, was it Momo that made that move?
Momo did it a couple times, and
I went down
Rick
there.
Craddock?
I went down there to get by Axel, and that's when
what
I
seeing.
went into turn 3.
we were
and
3 wide. Yeah,
we
you
were
on
holding it
bottom.
pretty low, and that's when, coming out of turn 4, it snapped, and I moved up just a little bit and got into Axel, and that's when I went up on my hood.
Yeah, you went down there. We were 3 wide, and I thought we were going to make that. I
did too. I thought this might work out, but then it just caused me to be a little bit too low and too quick, and I got onto the apron a little bit in 3 and 4, and that's where I just slid up into Axel just a tad.
Well, Momo, when he was going down there, he actually got some damage. You know, that's a tough transition there on that kink in the backstretch between the apron and the track, and running at full speed. He went down there a couple times. I believe he actually got damage from that transition between the track and the apron. So I think that's why most of the guys were staying off of it. Not only because it gets you loose and it's hard to make it, but Momo had said he got damage from running down there. So most everybody else, I think, was avoiding it.
It was a good race. I mean, there was a lot of battling through the whole field, and it gets crazy.
Well, I made a huge mistake with that pit at the end. I think I even said it on my stream while we were racing. I was looking at my fuel, and instead of looking at how many laps there were to go when that caution came out, I was looking at how much fuel I had and was thinking, for some reason, that's how many laps we had left. It's like, yeah, we got plenty of laps. I'm going to get some tires and come back out. And a few of you guys didn't pit at all. There were several cars that just took right side tires. I went in, took all 4. I think I was up in the very front when I pitted and ended up coming back out in 8th, 9th, 10th place. Well back in the field. So, huge mistake on my part. If I had looked at the laps and how many were laps to go, I wouldn't have pitted either. I'd have stayed out, because, chances of that other caution coming out close to the end, just like it did, you knew that was going to happen. But, I'm looking at the wrong number. So I went in and pitted, and I got lucky pulling up a 4th place finish, I think, with that. That was a hell of a race between me and you, Pockets, back to the line there at the end.
I still don't know why I didn't just door slam you.
Hey, you could have, because I was
I,
going on the
I,
outside right there, right up by the wall, and coming off that corner. You had every opportunity to at least, squeeze me up there a little bit, pull off my momentum. But yeah,
or I will tell you this. I will tell you this. I did when I seen it happening. I said to myself, if I don't door slam him, he's fixing to pass me. And there, about that time, there you just bear. And I was like, I can't believe he got me right there. But you can't believe how happy I was. A top 5 at Phoenix. Oh, that was. I walked away from that race very lucky and very happy, and still not believing everybody pitted with 10 to go, because I was already, my mind was already happy with us finishing in the top 10, hopefully, and to get a top 5 out of it was, and that
User
race,
disconnected from your
that's what
channel.
made that race so exciting, was all those different kind of strategies and stuff that happen in the course of a race like that, that you've got to be paying attention. You got to be up on your toes. You've got to decide right then. You can't wait. You got to make a decision, stick with it, win or lose. It is what it is. But that was exciting stuff.
That caution pockets. I was behind you when that caution came out, and I had my tape on already set. I had track bar dropped down a little bit to tighten her up, and it was set to go. I was getting 4 tires, put a little fuel in it, and I was going to motor on up through the front with you. But yeah, when they pitted, I was like, screw that. I don't need tape. I got enough tape.
Looking at these results here, before I say that, it was those fresh tires that got me that pockets. That was able to get me by you there on the outside. But looking at these results, Larry, for some reason it doesn't show your status, and you got no winnings. What's up with that? Did you get penalized?
I'm not talking about that.
He didn't stop by the payout window and pick up all his money he left. So he didn't even stop at the payout window on his way out of the track. Once again, there was some helmets thrown, declined the TV interview. I remember seeing the 65 hauler leaving, and I was like, how did they even get their car loaded up that fast to get out of here? And they were gone on their way to California.
Well,
That's what happened.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the standings here in the Cup Series after 4 races.
I see it.
It is currently, look at that, BSR Pockets with the 5th place finish.
Oh!
Moves up 3 places to take over the lead in the Cup Series. And we have a tie for 2nd place. BSR Barry and BSR Rick Craddock moves up 3 spots with the win to tie Barry for 2nd place, down by 2. Then you got Wings sitting there in 4th, only down by 3 points. And BSR SS Joba rounding out the top 5, down by 7. And then we got another tie right there between myself and Monty Keller for 6th place, only down by 9 points. So things still real tight up here in the top 10 or so drivers after 4 races in this Cup Series.
Absolutely. There I am at the top spot, man. That's you hear them talk about all the time about peaking too early, or you got to save a little for the Che, and what. Let me tell you something. That peaking too early is a load of crap, because you're always trying to peak. You're trying to peak early and often. You're trying to peak in the middle, trying to peak at the end. You're always after the peak. So I just look at that and say, hey, we're doing something so good. A top 5 finish at Phoenix, and that gives us some hope for the chase, because Phoenix is our downfall in the chase. I mean, it really is. And so that strategy, will it present itself again? Probably not, but you got to show up to see if it will. So, you just take what you can and try to hold on to what you got, and those top 5s is where it's at. As long as you can get a top 5 every week, I still say you're doing the best you can. You know what I mean? That's a good goal to shoot for.
Yeah, I got to ask you, since how you are sitting here on the top of the board. I know we talked about this a lot last season on the spotter stand. would you rather be the chaser or the chasee? So now that you're at the top and you're the chasee, do you think your feeling on that chaser chasee may have changed any? Do you still think you'd rather be the chaser, or does it feel a little better being up there having that little cushion, knowing now that you don't have to make up points? All you have to do is get the best finish you can and try to hold on to what you got.
Well, and this is just my thought on it is that, all right, look, it's defense versus offense now. You're going to have to play the best offense you can all the time. I mean, you've got to. That's where you focus on is your offense. So you're still trying as hard as you can. It feels a little different being there, but it also it adds a little bit of the defensive aspect of it is that instead of just focusing on the offense trying to reach the goal line, now you're at the goal line, but you got to stay at the goal line and defend it. So that adds a little extra pressure, don't you think? Because you don't know if you're going to be able to pull off the offensive side of it and gain the top spot, but you're going to try every race. Having it and keeping it is a little bit more, it's a little bit more of a struggle than just trying to get it. You know what I'm saying? You're doing two things instead of just one. So but that's just my thought on it. I mean, you like that feeling of being out there, but you also know that, hey, you've put yourself on the front page of the newspaper of, hey, that guy, when he passes you on the track, that's the leader right there. If you want to be the leader, you better go get his ass. So that does bring a little more attention. You're no longer flying under the radar, I can tell you that.
Oh yeah, everybody's definitely got their eyes on you, but the way I always look at it, you're going to have the finish you're going to have at whatever particular race. You do the best you can every time you go out to the track, and when you start out there in the front, you don't have any extra points to make up. Worst you can do is lose. If you'd had that same finish and been trying to chase somebody down, more than likely you would have lost more points to that person. But if you're already on the top, you got the finish, then you didn't fall too much farther behind if you were already behind.
Yeah, now if you asked me this question this November when we were pulling into Homestead, my answer would be much different than
than what it is right now.
But you still here's the thing, if it was that scenario, here's what you'd be faced with. Not only do you got to win it, you got to keep somebody else from taking it from you. So if you were Barry, for example, right here, 2 points back, all you got to do is win it. You ain't got to keep, you know what I'm saying? So that defending part will make you race differently than just all out trying to go get what you want. You know what I'm saying? That defending part will make you maybe make a decision that you wouldn't if you didn't have anything to lose, but to get it's the last race, you're 2 points back scenario. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I definitely get you there, because if it's the last race, you're 2 points back. You gotta go. You gotta make that pass if you can.
And everybody knows the less you give a driver to think about, the better he's gonna do. That's just a fact.
Let's go on and take a look here at Friday night. Friday night, the Xfinity Series. A little bit of controversy here in this Xfinity Series on Friday night. Let's see. What's the best way to put this? We all know the rule. If you're involved in a caution, somebody has to claim that caution. And if you do not claim that caution and you do not go to the end of the longest line, then you run the risk that caution is going to be reviewed. after the race by all the admins. There's going to be a consensus come to by all of the admins as to who was at blame, who was at fault for that caution. And if you are found at fault and you did not go to the end of the longest line after that caution, then you will be placed at the end of the longest line at the finish of the race. So basically, you run a risk. Even if you don't want to claim it, if you were involved and you think you may have been responsible, you're not sure who is responsible, it's usually a good idea to just go ahead and go to the back of the line right then after that caution, especially if it's still fairly early in the race and you got time to make that position up, because if you don't, then you're going to run that, you're going to take that risk. I've been there. Pockets has been there. Several of us have been in this same situation where we didn't think it was our fault. We didn't claim the caution. We didn't go to the end of the longest line, and we were penalized and placed at the end of the longest line at the end of the race. Pockets has had victories taken from him. I don't know if I had a victory taken, but a good solid finish taken away from me because of this same issue. And I definitely learned a lesson from it. You know, if I was involved, and I think there's any remote chance it may have been my fault, I'm generally going to go to the back, because it's better to go to the back and have some laps to make up some positions than to get placed at the back at the end of the race. So our victor this week in the Friday night series, BSR Terry Scott, was involved in an incident fairly early in the race, about 30 or so laps in. He was racing behind BSR Hot Rod and BSR SS Joba. They were fighting for position, and Terry, was a faster car. He definitely probably was faster than both of those guys. Raced behind them for a couple laps, and then he made a decision to make it 3 wide going down into turn 1. And as a result of that, Hot Rod got stuck right in the middle. And I watched the replay myself, and Hot Rod basically had no room. SS Joba got a little loose on the high side up there at the top. Terry, although he did hold his line, he was nice and steady. He was up off the bottom of the track a little bit, and Hot Rod was squeezed there in the center. And there was a little bit of contact, I think, between SS and Hot Rod. Then Hot Rod was kind of got loose and moved down into Terry Scott, and the incident happened. So after the review, all of the admins came to the consensus that basically it was on the guy who had forced that 3 wide in that situation. And I believe, I remember it being in the past that that has always been the situation. If you force the 3 wide and there's an incident, usually it's going to get called 9 times out, not always, but 9 times out of 10, it's going to get called on the guy who forces the 3 wide. So that's what happened this time, and BSR Terry Scott did not claim that caution when it happened, held his position on the track. So unfortunately, had the victory taken from him here on the Friday night series at Phoenix, and was forced back to the end of the lead lap. I don't believe he finished last, but he was the last car on the lead lap. So, a lesson learned here for all of us. If you're involved like that and you think there's any chance, it's best to just take that penalty, go to the back, even if you're not going to claim it. So long as you go to the back of the pack, then you won't be penalized at the end of the race and put at the back and have a great finish or even a victory like Terry taken away from you. So with all that said, we got no winner's render this week, but we are still going to go take a look at the race results and the point standings here. Here's a look at the finishing order. Myself, BSR Texan, still scored there in second place. Monty Keller third. Nelly fourth. Steve Looney rounding out the top 5. Let's see, who was that?
BSR Magoo.
Magoo just came in and left.
Yes.
Well, you're welcome to come on back in, Magoo. You come on back in if you like. Now, you see down there, Terry Scott did lead the most laps. He doesn't get that taken away from him. He still gets his point for leading the most laps. As you see there, even though he finished behind Pockets, behind Eli, Eli with 31 points didn't lead any laps. Pockets tied him there with 31 points because he did lead 3 laps, got a bonus point for that. And PSR Terry Scott actually finished with 32 points because not only did he get a point for leading a lap, but he got a point for leading the most laps. So that lead the most laps point wasn't taken away. The only thing that were the 40 some odd points he would have got for the first place finish and the bonus points for winning the race. So yeah, definitely took about a 10-point hit, at least a 10 to 11-point hit by not claiming that caution, not going to the back when the incident happened. And I don't, you can't blame a guy for getting upset when that happens to him, but that's just one of those things. Like I said, it's happened to me. I got a little upset when it happened to me too, but you get over it and you move on to the next race, and that's the way it goes. I'm sure Pockets, I'm sure you got a little upset when it happened to you too, because you had victory taken away just like Terry Scott did, and that's just the way it goes sometimes.
Well, I can tell you this: in both of the instances that I've had having a victory taken away, I wasn't nowhere near as upset as the two that I had to explain it to. So the people that had to explain it to me got off very lightly. So, but look, and here's something to understand. This was a procedural penalty. This is procedure. This is race procedure. This is lack of following race procedure, as we have outlined many times in our rules and other things like that. That's why the standings are showing second place, because Terry Scott won that race. There's no doubt that he won that race. So the second place person doesn't get to claim the victory because it was a procedural penalty. And in Terry Scott's defense, there were some contributing factors like communication problems on race radio. There was a little bit of a misunderstanding, but he and I had a long discussion about ways to keep those kind of issues from affecting a situation where he may need to claim or not claim. It was just a perfect storm of several different things happened that led up to that. To be fair, we had to stay consistent with how we do that, because the caution was not officially claimed. Like I said, there was some radio issues in there that affected that, but I had a long talk with Terry. He was a man about it. He took his medicine. He didn't take it easy, but I can't blame him. I can't blame him for being upset, because if he didn't care, he wouldn't be upset, and he showed me how much he cared. So that's what I build on. I build on that desire, and it's Terry Scott. And I told him, I'll tell everybody what I told him. He's a champion here. I'm not really that concerned with him basically losing 2 points. Now, if it comes down to the last race and he's 2 points behind, I'm sure he'll argue that fact with me. But I always say that it's those last 10 races is where you're going to win and lose the championship. It's not really the bonus points. The bonus points they're going to be a factor, but if you're going to win it or lose it, it's going to be in those 10 races. So don't y'all agree?
Absolutely. And it did affect him in that aspect a little bit as well, because Terry, a great racer. I'm sure he'll be able to come back from this and probably put himself in the top 5 at the end of the first segment to still get a chase bonus point for that top 5. But the victory bonus point, that's another one. And if we get to the chase and it comes down to, 2 bonus points, 2 points, if Terry Scott loses the chase by 2 points, one of those points would have been the victory for this race, and the other one would have been the top 5 for the segment if he doesn't make it back into that top 5, because I think Terry Scott's still going to make it back into the top 5 by the end of the segment here.
He's in 7th right now, and
Yeah.
that's what I said. We've got 10 races left. I had to get out the schedule and explain it all to. I had to basically explain the whole points to him so that he understood that that's not. And here's the other thing: you're absolutely right about those 2 points, but here's the counter argument to that. In those last 10 races, those 2 points are going to be lost in a race where you finished 4th instead of, and the eventual champion probably finished 2nd. You see where those 2 points at where you can catch back up or lose, you know what I'm saying, in those last 10 races. So
Oh yeah.
it's you love to hold on to the theory of those bonus points is what's going to carry you through if it gets tight, never thinking about it's that 4th place finish that's killing you right now at New Hampshire or wherever we are in the chase. You know what I'm saying? So but it works both ways. It really does.
Yep. Yeah, and like Puckett said, the victory not given to anybody else. There's no bonus point handed out in this series for the victory this week. I didn't get a bonus point in towards my chase. I scored a 2nd place finish, got the points that I would have gotten for the 2nd place finish, and nothing else. And BSR Terry Scott, I'm sure has learned, and in the future, if he has anything similar, he'll be going to the back and not taking that chance on letting something like this happen to him again. So,
correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm almost positive that since we've been doing the bonus point thing, I don't think the leader of the bonus points going into the first of 10 races in the chase eventually went on to be the champion. I don't think that's happened. I don't think it was that bonus point guy, was it?
It sure wasn't last season.
Did you do it, Texan?
If I maybe in the Cup series,
but you see what I'm saying? It's not. That's
yeah, because I don't believe I was leading the bonus points in the truck or in the Xfinity when we went into the chase.
You can go back and look. You weren't leading the Cup either because Mr. Looney was leading the Cup last season.
This is what I always tell everyone. The most advantage points-wise anyone has had due to bonus points going into the chase was 7 bonus points. You can double that in the very first race of the chase either way, either positive or negative. It'll be easy to double that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you lose.
As you can see from the difference here between even 2nd place at 43 points and last place at 29 points. I mean, that's 14 points in one race. So yeah, you can easily double that 7 points in one race, one way or the other, either up or down. So yeah, that's why we do the points the way we do. We want to make it interesting. We want to give everybody a little something, to go on through the regular season and to go into their chase with. But we, at the same time, we don't want anybody to be running away with it and having a clear advantage going into the chase. We're going to reward drivers for their attendance, for showing up, for their victories, for how well they do during the season, but not overly so that they have a big advantage going into the chase. We want everybody, regardless of how many races they've made throughout the season, to feel like they've got an opportunity, if they can make those last 10 races, to be a champion.
Absolutely. They're all eligible. They all get to line up for those last 10 races. And like I said, 7 points is the most. And you would be amazed at how much it changes after the first race. And then as you progress through those last 10, you kind of get it becomes a whole totally different battle. I'll put it to you this simple. You want those bonus points, but when it comes to the first race of the chase, all of that is out the window. It's a brand new game. It's 10 races. All kinds of stuff can happen in what you're fixing to deal with. And those 5 or 6 bonus points are not going to be the rope that saves you from falling off the cliff. It's just that simple. You've got to perform in those last 10 races.
Yeah, and some of those tracks that are mixed in there, the way the chase is mixed up, I believe, 2 of my worst tracks are in the chase that especially in the Cup, that Darlington in the chase and Dover in the chase. Oh man, I'm terrible at both of those tracks really. So yeah, and is it this year again? Is there a is that Roval in the chase?
Roval.
Yeah, so now we're gonna have a Roval added in there. So there's a big mix of tracks.
Are we gonna have a Roval added in there?
We most certainly should. It's in the Cup schedule.
Yep, you're right about that. Are we sure we want to have a Roval with Texan and probably going to be having some bonus?
Probably not, because we're probably going to need to stockpile some for that race buckets.
Well, whether we want to or not, I mean that's on the schedule. That's what we got to.
We already know how hard you're going to lobby for that. You know me. If we can find a suitable one that'll work, that'll be fine. I don't care.
I think there is a good one.
We are simulating the real schedule, so we need to try to do that.
We need to get a hold of the one that they got out last year and try to get some, like a base setup or something going with it. That's probably what we're going to end up using.
Well, let's go take a look here at the points in this Xfinity Series. Now 4 races in. It is Steve Looney. And at number 21, up at the top of the board in the Xfinity Series. Pretty good lead there after 4 races. Tie for second place between Monty Keller and myself, both down by 8 points. Another tie for 4th place between BSR Pockets and Nelly, down by 13. Then you got Brain Fade in there down by 18 and Terry Scott down by 19. And yeah, like you said, he's still in 7th place and currently only about 6 points off of the top 5. So yeah, I have no doubt Terry Scott will be able to make up 6 points in these next few races before the end of the segment to place himself back in that top 5 and get a bonus point. Hell, he may have some good enough races to get that top spot at the end of the segment and get 2 bonus points for that. So
I mean, I had to remind him that he was Terry Scott and that he was in 7th. So, so that should tell you. You know what I mean? So, like I said, he's a past champion. He's 76 points back. Are we even still having this conversation? Because that's all going to change. It all changes every week. That's the beauty of it. And a lot of it is how much effort that you put towards changing it for the better for yourself. I mean, it's just, you know the deal. You know how it is. This is racing. We ain't going to get hung up on race 5. We got 31 more races to go.
That's right. And, there's going to be bad races for all of us here and there. And, another thing we've been talking about this season so far are all these ties. As we see, still a few ties here. Tied for 2nd place, tied for 4th place. It's been really good, close racing so far this season. Next week, the trucks will be off again. So we will have another dirt race next week. What track we racing in the dirt on tomorrow night, Larry?
Terre Haute.
Terre Haute tomorrow night. And then the Cup Series and the Xfinity Series will both be at California this coming up week. Another great track for racing. Lots of room. Lots of room to pass, and California usually produces some great racing in both of these series. So looking forward to this coming up week. We're gonna have a lot of fun racing in the dirt and racing Terre Haute. I can't ever pronounce that.
Terre Haute. I'm looking forward to California because it's not Phoenix.
Let's move on right quick. We'll take a look at Saturday night.
I'll trade you New Hampshire for Phoenix.
The Saturday night team series battle of the 6 flavors.
Oh, this is going to create some discussion, ain't it?
Yeah, we are a little ways into season number 37 now. And this week we were at Daytona. And at Daytona, we finally had a different victor other than the Carolina Reaper team. This week, it was BSR Chevy Chase from that Drunken Cow Jerky original team that brought home the victory for his team. And finally, I think all these other teams are getting together here, kind of working against that Reaper team. Reaper had some bad luck fairly early in the race. Most of their drivers ended up a lap down. They had some problems going into the pits. Now, all of them did manage to get back on the lead lap before the end of this race. But still, well, most of them, 2 of them were on the lead lap at the end of the race. And these teams did do some work against those drivers toward the end. They managed to finish, I think they were 7th, 8th place is where they finished for their team. So, you know, these teams finally starting to get the idea they've got a deficit to make up on that Reaper team. And Chevy bringing home the victory for original, definitely on his way to helping his team do that. And the points gap did drop a little bit this week. We go over and take a look here at the race results. It was, well, I got to close this again. I keep forgetting I have to overlay these things on top of one another, and I need to close them after I'm done with them. Here we go with the original team with the best finish. Also led the most laps, as you can see, maximized their points there at 48. Wolf Bites doing great this season. Got the next best finish for their team. Looks like it was Steve Looney. Had a great finish for the Wolf Bites team. Teriyaki didn't do too bad. We managed to lead a few laps there as well. Beer Bacon, the Carolina Reaper team. And then the only 2 teams that finished behind Reaper in this race were Ghost and Hot. So Ghost and Hot both lost a few more points to that Reaper team who's currently in the lead. All the other teams, Original, Wolf Bites, Teriyaki, and Beer Bacon, gained a few points on that Reaper team to kind of close that gap just a little bit. Let's take a look at how they stand now. What are we, 4, 5 races into this series? I believe 4.
5.
The halfway point.
Yes,
the critical halfway point.
Yes, sir.
At halfway, the Carolina Reaper team still with a 15-point lead over Original. And then you got Beer Bacon down only by 17, Ghost down by 22, Teriyaki back by 26, Wolf Bites down by 34, and Hot back by 40. So Carolina Reaper still a great lead there at 15 points. I mean, they've got a pretty good cushion, but you know they're going to have to keep looking over their shoulder because these teams are, you know, especially that original team, Beer Bacon team, who are the closest to them in points. You know, they're going to be working together, doing everything they can to keep that Reaper team behind them.
Yes, there's 4 cup races and 1 truck race left on the schedule.
That's going to get ugly before it's over with, ain't it?
Oh, yeah. It's cup again this week, and then trucks the following week, and then the last 3 weeks finish out cup.
So now, here, real quick, I shouldn't even say this, but texting the Chaser versus the Chasee, does the philosophy change on Saturday night during team racing?
Nah, I would still rather be the Chasee. I would much rather be up there in the front and have, because like I say, whatever that next race coming up is, or the race of the night, where you're either trying to make up points or hold on to your lead, chances are that race is going to go how it's going to go. You're going to have the finish you're going to have. So if you're already in a deficit, you got to make up points. You know, and you have a bad race, well, you're just going further in the hole. But if you're in the lead and you happen to have a bad race, well, you've got a little cushion to fall back on. So, again, I'd rather be in the front. You know, I'd rather be up there with a few point lead and not have to worry about if I finish behind the original team or behind the Beer Bacon team by a few spots, because you're still going to probably be in the lead.
Well, here's how my brain works is I'm thinking at least if I'm not in the top spot with I always say with the bullseye on my back, unless I'm fortunate enough to have you on my team, I don't have you standing in the middle of the town square getting everybody to get their pitchforks and their torches to come after them.
Yeah, I gotta admit,
So,
I definitely do a little
so,
bit of that, don't I?
so see, you do get to miss that part. You do get to miss the whole town coming after you up to Frankenstein's castle to burn you out. So,
Yeah.
and that's kind of what I mean. Carolina Reaper did that to themselves. I mean, they made a statement early. They're going to stick with it and they're going to back it up. They're not walking it back, and it's everybody else's. It's their prerogative to go up there and get after them, and I got a feeling that's what's going to happen because that's what happened this week. Chevy Chase, driving for the original team, got after them, and there you go. That could the second half of the season may be a lot different than the first half because of the scenario that's presented itself.
I do know one thing, Puck. It's my first season in the team season. I was with Chevy and Texan, and we were back. What was it? 18 points, I think. We were counting points the whole race long, trying to make up points. And I'll tell you, that's way more stressful than being up front and just doing whatever you need to do.
So y'all's in-team communication was probably pretty healthy during all of that to keep those
Yeah.
discussions about all the different scenarios and how many points and stuff like that. Well, that's good. Hey, that's how you got to be paying attention. And what I like is that sometimes, I try to pay attention as good as I can, and I'm wondering, I bet nobody doesn't realize that, and just about the time I think that, Texan says, y'all do know that if you, and I'm thinking, well, they do now.
Yeah, you notice how quiet I am when my team is in the lead. You won't hear
Yes.
much out of me
Yes.
then.
Yes.
But as soon as I'm not in the lead, and especially when there's a deficit like that, I'll be speaking up multiple times during the race. What are you doing in that line with that Reaper car? Are you crazy?
every lap counts. There's just, I mean, that series is just what it is, man. It's just everything that you could want for it. It's got all that extra added attraction to it, and it worked out perfectly with the flavors that we've been running the team series for a long time. We started off and we would make up teams. That's where the Black Car Mafia and Aftershock and a slew of other teams had come up. But when we got sponsorship from our good friends Mark and Richard Heyman and DrunkenCowJerky.com, the flavors fit perfect. I mean, it worked out perfectly. So that's where you get the battle of the 6 flavors in the Wolf Bites, and it's like I said, that series speaks for itself. Shall I go get a cup of coffee?
I did. I'm sorry. I just got back. I thought you were. As soon as you started talking about the Aftershock and the Black Car Mafia, and Aftershock.
Tell the whole history, not
Absolutely.
just a quick abbreviated version.
Well, Aftershock brings back some memories because if I recall, even though these teams were chosen randomly at the beginning of each season, SS and myself wound up on Aftershock 3 seasons in a row, and I know we won at least 2 of those seasons, and we had some great runs and great finishes. And when you get a couple of drivers who are really consistent in the pit stops, and know how to run these team series and use the strategies like you've got Momo and SS and Poor Boy on this Reaper team. When you put a team together like that, it's hard to beat them. These guys are consistent in the pits almost every single pit stop, with the exception of the one pit this last week where they had trouble. They know how to run up front. They know how to use the strategy and keep their team up there, and it's going to be hard. It's tough to beat them.
It's Like I said, that thing just it just presents so many different challenges and angles to work at that it is what it is. And I think that was race 5. That was race 5. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Well, that's only the 365th race in the Drunken Cow Jerky Saturday Night Team Series. So, like I said, I think it's going to stick around.
We've got one other thing we'd like to talk about this evening, what's going to be coming up here on Saturday nights. Most of you guys have already had a little bit of a run at this, and man, this is going to be a blast. It is the WLS Graphic SST Series Super Trucks, racing in a combination of dirt and asphalt. Super truck racing with jumps on the track. I personally just downloaded this mod last night and ran in that track that y'all practiced this past Saturday. It's full dirt. Basically it's a road course with some dirt in there and some jumps on the track. And man, that I got to say, it was fun. I had a lot of fun just practicing all by myself. And from what I've heard, when you have multiple cars on the track and you're hitting these jumps, that you can actually get knocked off the track. You can get knocked in a tree and get stuck in a tree. This is definitely something new, something different. It's adding a big mix here to the racing at BSR. Man, I'm looking forward to this Saturday night and actually racing on the track in these super trucks with some of the cars.
Absolutely. Our good friend Tim Scarborough over at WLS Graphics, BSR Scar, jumping out on top of this to be the lead sponsor for this series. I want to explain real quick how this came about, because people probably, what's SST? Well, Super Stadium Trucks is what they're called. And you know that we try to simulate real racing. We don't do much fantasy, but we try to provide a product that simulates something that's real out there that you can do. I started seeing this stuff. I had known about it. It slipped my mind or whatever, but I seen a couple of videos on YouTube of these style trucks. They're like a stadium, like a trophy truck in off-road racing, basically is what it is. And they got together. They've created a series that goes around to these different tracks. They put up ramps and they race and jump and in dirt, everything else. And I was like, just thought, this is cool. This is really cool. How are the stands not completely full to offer something like this? Because this is a little bit of dirt racing. It's a little bit of road racing. It's a little bit of demolition derby and a little bit of Evel Knievel. That's a winning combination, if you ask me. If I know anything at all about racing and what people want to see, this is it. And our good friend Steve Looney said, Pockets, we could probably pull this off. And he and I and Larry and several of us work together, and we're putting together a series. WLS Graphics is sponsoring it. This Saturday night's our first race. WLS Graphics said, you know what? Let's kick this thing off with the bang. First, the winner of the first SST series is going to win 3 bags of Drunken Cow Jerky. He's got some special prizes for top finishers in this series later on as the season progresses. We'll lay out all the details that we got for that. But yeah, this Saturday night we're fixing to get down with some of this, because this is super exciting. Now this is a 16-year-old game, and there's a lot of people had to do a lot of work for this to even be able to be possible. And they're thanks to everyone, that put this together for us to be able to use. Some other people have made this mod and these tracks and stuff like that. And we're gonna step out there and try it in a series and try to simulate real world racing like this and see how it goes. And everybody's super excited about it. We've tested with it. We've run some test races, and it's really good time.
Oh yeah, and special thanks out to the guys over at Race LM. I know you had to send in a ticket to them to get them to add this mod to our server for us, and they stepped right up, got it added on there, so we could race in this mod. And everybody who's put an effort out there in making this mod, making the tracks to go along with it, and I'm I'm excited about this. So if you don't have this mod already, um, you know, go out there before, because we're going to be starting this Saturday night right after the team series, and so you're not last minute having to grab the mod and all that good stuff right before the race. If you don't have it already, get the mod downloaded. Tracks are going to be available. It takes no time if you don't have the track already to download that, put it in there. But get the mod, install it. Even if I think there's only 3 trucks that are currently in there when you download the mod, so you'll have to go in and go in the opponent manager, set yourself up a new truck, and put your number in it. It doesn't necessarily have to have a paint job. You don't have to have a truck with a paint job at first race, but get yourself set up with a truck with your number and come out and race with us Saturday night in this SST series.
Make sure you run the downloader. There's people that have trucks in already. So,
and I do want to say this about this 16-year-old sim that we're still loyal and use every day. I could be wrong, but I'm almost positive you can't jump ramps in a stadium truck in a real race and iRacing.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Can you?
Yep, they're bringing it out.
Oh, they're bringing it. Can you right now do it? Can you do it this Saturday night?
No, you cannot.
All right, then. There you go.
But like they originally did, they got to copy what we're doing.
They must have said, yep. That sounds about right. But we're doing it. We're doing it. We're running the series. We've worked with Steve. Thanks to Steve Looney for helping us out and being an integral part of this and putting this together. And we've had discussions about how we're going to do the points, and we're trying to do it. We're trying to do it legitimate. And this is something a little different that we try to provide for, our members and our guests. And I think it's going to be a good time. And thanks to Tim and Christy over at WLS Graphics.
Yes. Hopefully he's watching this, or he'll watch the replay. I still need that schedule, Steve, so we can get this going.
Well, you can do it this Saturday night here at BSR. We'll be on the track in this.
Steve's going, I sent that schedule to Pockets. What the? Yeah, I'll find it.
I bet he probably is.
Go ahead, text it. I'm going to find the schedule right now.
Well, let's take a quick look at the bonus points. There hasn't been a whole lot of change this week. In the truck series, trucks were off this week, so no change in these bonus points right here. They stand exactly the way they did last week when we took a look at them. In the Xfinity series, no change in these bonus points either, because the victory was taken from Terry Scott, who was pushed to the back of the line, so he did not join the Victory Lane Club winner race box just yet, and no change in these bonus points from when we looked at them last week.
Do me a favor, y'all look down out in the parking lot here off the spotter stand. Make sure Terry Scott ain't down there somewhere when this is over.
Oh, you want us to walk you out? We'll walk you out. You'll be all right.
He might be mad at y'all too.
Yeah, Pocket's still holding the lead here. Looks like in the Xfinity Series bonus points with 4, coming with that win at Daytona, giving him 3 bonus points plus the top 5 in the AK Daytona, which substituted for the duels. You still hold the lead in this Xfinity Series bonus points currently with 4. Closest behind you is 2. Few drivers in there with 2. Over in the Cup Series, we did have a little bit of a change here. In the Cup Series, Rick Craddock gaining the win, and that is 2 victories for Rick Craddock in this Cup Series with just 4 races behind us. Rick Craddock already with 2 of the victories, 2 bonus points in there. Moves up to 2 bonus points over there in the totals. And BSR Momo still holding the top spot currently in the bonus points with 4. He's got 2 of his bonus points from the shootout. Got a bonus point from a top 5 in Daytona, another bonus point from top 5 in the 8K Daytona. So Momo holding the top spot in the Cup Series currently with 4 bonus points going into the chase. Pockets and myself both have 3. Rick Craddock with 2 bonus points now, and several other drivers in there currently with 1. A lot of racing to go in all 3 of these series, and a lot of bonus point boxes to fill up here. So we'll keep you guys informed and up to date every week here on the Spotter Stand with all the previous racing from the last week, upcoming races for the current week, and all of these bonus points as they stand week by week as we go through this series. Now, I want to say I appreciate all of you guys sticking around today. We had some technical difficulties at the beginning. Got us a very late start, much later than we normally do. I'm going to get all this stuff worked out here during the week. We'll have it going like normal coming up next Tuesday for the Spotter Stand. But I appreciate all you guys hanging out, sticking through it with us, and staying to watch this evening. And also, you know, Pockets, Hot Rod, Trish, I appreciate you guys with all your help every week, everything that you guys do to contribute here to the show. And, you know, it's been another great show. So, you know, we appreciate everybody for tuning in and watching us live. Thanks to you guys, Pockets and Larry. And we'll be coming at you next Tuesday night with all the info from this week's racing at California, racing in the Dirt Series on Wednesday night, Team Series on Saturday night, and the brand new SST Series coming up late night Saturday night. We'll have all that info for you next week on the Spotter Stand. Appreciate you guys all tuning in, and we will see you guys next week.
Holla! See ya.